What is up, everybody? Welcome to a very special, very live edition of Talking Junk, coming straight to you from the Solution Summit. We are here and we're ready to do some emotional laundry today. We are here to teach you how to gain agency over your anger using the Hot Head's Guide to Quieting Chaos and Unleashing Your Calm. I'm your host today, Jason Melendez, but you could call me the Junk Guru. It is my absolute honor to be here. And I have to give a massive thank you to the incredible Sydney Stanford, Chief Visionary Officer of Aces Matter, for this opportunity and for creating this amazing space. Their vision is simple: to create a world where aces are understood, prevented, and healed. Now, if you heard my podcast, you know it's usually just me, a microphone, that little camera right there. But today is completely different. This is not just a podcast recording. This is a live community discussion. Think of it as a family meeting for your collective sanity. I'm your guide today. We're gonna dive deep into the core ideas from my book, Shut the Junk Up. But this couch, it's not just for me. Throughout our time, I'm bringing up some of our other brilliant speakers from the summit to sit right here and chop it up with me. And we're going to be talking to you. We've got mics in the audience. Once they get here, it's still very early. We'll pull people in if we can, if we have time, because like I said, if you're no stranger to this podcast, you know that we are no stranger to technical difficulties. Huge shout out to Leslie Gray Photography for this amazing production. They are amazing. So if you're in the area and you need production, definitely reach out. Now, let's just get into it, all right? I want you to think about your mind like that one junk drawer in your kitchen. That is our brain sometimes, right? It's a chaotic mess of old beliefs and emotional clutter. Today, we're gonna dump that drawer out onto the floor and decide what's worth keeping. So, how did the system get so messy? It starts with our origin story. For a lot of us, that's our adverse childhood experiences or our ACEs. This isn't a sob story, it's a science story. Experiencing these traumatic events before the age of 18 literally rewires your brain for survival mode. That anger, that anxiety, that's not a character flaw. It's a conditioned response that helped you survive. But now your alarm system, your amygdala, is super sensitized, causing rage to hit like a complete breakdown. Now let's get into the mechanics of the wiring. Trauma is a survival override, right? It puts your rational brain on pause and makes you shift into one of the four survival responses. This is how you build the inner junk piles. Fight or flight fuels the burning trash bag. Freeze and fawn builds the sealed off room and the illusionary clean spot. Now, I want to take a second to go straight into the book and pull out the archetypes. You would think that I was a little more prepared to bring the archetypes to you. But you know, I'm very rarely prepared. So, with that being said, we're going to skip the graphic. Now, you need to recognize these four inner junk piles as unwanted tenants, right? And let's be honest, seeing them, naming them, that's how you start charging them rent, because you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. Now, the archetypes in this book, they're gonna make me bring them out, right? So it's the swarming pests, the bursting trash bag, the sealed off room, and the illusionary clean spot. Now, these things are crucial to your mind's apartment, right? You, like I said, the junk drawer, but in the book, we refer to it as a hoarder's apartment. And these things, such as The swarming pests, those are it's more like your internal monologue. It's your intrusive thoughts. And those things, they aren't always right. They tend to poke and prod at your brain at the wrong times most of the time. You have to ask yourself, is it really telling you the truth? Or is it trying to protect you from something different? Now you got the bursting trash bag, and that's more of your repressed anger. That is you trying to keep yourself cool when really your fire alarm is going off and it's telling you a boundary is being crossed. You have to make sure that you're taking the time to acknowledge your trash bag before it ends up all over the floor. The sealed off room is your repression. That is where you stuff every single thing you don't want to think about. Some from your childhood, most from your adulthood. A lot of your upbringing is in that room. The biggest one for me, and it should be the biggest one for you, is the illusionary clean spot. That is the place in your hoarder's apartment that you keep for show. That's where you let everybody in, the clean part of you, the only part of you that anybody sees. You keep that so you have this facade, this presence about you, so nobody knows what's in your sealed off room. Nobody knows that your trash bag is just inches away from spreading all over the place. And they can rarely see your swarming pests because that room is illuminated in a way that only gets the positive notes of you. We are not only going to be talking about my book today, right? These bursting trash bags, these 4 things that I just gave you, that is the why. Now let's talk about the action. All right, we're gonna hit the couch pretty soon with our confirmed speakers to get their tactical advice and just gain a little more insight on how to transition from your hoarder's mind to your community to get the answers you need. We're going to kick it off in a little bit with a powerhouse, right, for this guest interview. Mental toughness, Mr. Anthony McCullough. He will be here just shortly. And until then, I want to thank you guys again for coming on to this live Solution Summit. Look at that. You see what I mean? We stumble, we bring it back. That's all I ever do on this podcast. Technical difficulties, word stumbling. Sometimes I can't even read. But today, we're going to hone it in because it's very important. You get this message from everybody, from me, from our guests, from the Solution Summit itself. Community is what it takes to get your bursting trash bag in order. Welcome back. I am here with my guest, Anthony McCullough. Anthony, thank you so much for joining me today and being our first guest. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, man. What a pleasure to see you again,
Hey,
Jason.
the pleasure is all mine,
Yes,
man.
sir.
It's been a little while since we were in the ACEs Reacher program. So
Yes.
now we call this broadcast Gaining Agency Over Your Anger. What does agency mean to you in the context of personal development and healing trauma?
Wow. To me, it means being responsive, but not making sure that I'm not triggered by. And I know you're talking about the anger agency part, but just being responsive. Agency to me is being responsive. So
It definitely is. Now, my book teaches the sacred pause. How do you coach people to build that mental muscle to pause before they react impulsively?
oh man, Jason, being a mental health counselor at one of the largest prisons in North Carolina, I'm able to. These men have been through anger management before and those different type of things. I'm teaching them to take 10, count to 10 if you can. But most of the time, the action is already done
Right.
before the crime is committed, so to say. But that that pause thing you're talking about, for me personally, it benefits me to pause and think before I react.
Now, in my book, we call that the sacred pause. In my book, we have a toolkit, and in there is your remote for life. And you have to take that pause to clarify your mind through that moment. Um, when you, in your work on mental toughness, what is the single biggest habit you teach people to stop their mental energy from being drained by their past trauma?
Wow. For me, that's being proactive and also remove the mask. And I know that's can be difficult sometimes because it was difficult for me until I recognized I had to come clean and tell somebody about what was going on. And I have a way of now helping those to be comfortable enough to release that energy of knowing that you're in a safe place to be able to do that.
Right. And when you said mask, in my book, we call it the illusionary clean spot.
Oh, wow.
Now that because we like to think of the mind in my book as a hoarder's apartment. So your mind is a mess. A hoarder's apartment is a mess, but they always have that one clean spot. That's your mask. That's the thing you put on to
Mhm.
give the facade to everybody. How do you get them to not only give them themselves the courage to drop that veil, but how do you get them to actively work on them as they're trying to drop that veil? Because it's not just a drop. You can't just drop and be comfortable in your
Right,
skin.
right,
You kind of have to drop and evolve into that.
right.
How can you get them to be comfortable?
First of all, it's all about building relationships. In my mentoring program with my youth, and as well as some of the adults I mentor in my peer support specialist, it's about the consistency because it doesn't happen the first time. And I try to build the mindset for anyone I'm dealing with to be in a growth mindset and keep showing up. Sometimes it's not gonna feel like you're not gonna want to be there. You got to keep showing up, and the consistency of that, something eventually evolves from that transformation of showing up because you build trust and you start to begin to let the other person know that you have their best interests. And once that happens, the guards come down. The first time you got the person that'll sit there with their arms crossed, they're in defense mode.
Right.
And the consistency of showing up, like you said, in those moments, you begin to build a rapport. And I'm thinking, and Jason, I guess overall consistency.
And consistency is key because
Yes.
without consistency, you really have a start and stop situation.
Right.
And that just, it adds fuel to the fire.
That's right. Because in between, you don't know what's going on
Right.
from the last time I saw you. And now we got to get back on the track of let's start over again, being consistent.
Right.
So, yes.
And it doesn't, you being a coach, if you get into that mentality of I need to start and stop, then it not only hurts the person's mind, but it hurts their pockets too.
Yes.
Because you're starting the program over and over again.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I do want to thank you again for coming on and being our first guest. I know you have to hit the stage soon, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want you to look at the camera over here, give them everything that you'll be talking about today and where they can find you if they need you.
Okay. Well, my name is Anthony McCauley once again, and today I'll be speaking on substance use and abuse, dealing with mental health issues, incarceration, and prisoner pipeline, those type of things. Being a lived experience person, that I'm very forthright about my story now and sharing to others around the world of how to overcome those. Well, first of all, my topic today is dealing with the resilience of standing strong, and like I spoke of before, removing that mask and helping others from a standpoint of being genuine, authentic, and helping others. You can find me on all social media platforms. You can find me on YouTube. So just research Anthony McCauley. That's M small c, big C, AULEY, Anthony McCauley. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you, Anthony. And we'll be right back with another great guest interview for you. Stay tuned. Up next, I'm glad to keep the energy going and welcome a strong voice in our community work, Michael Allen. Michael, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for allowing me.
Hey, the pleasure, as always, is all mine. Now, I'm sorry. The technical difficulties. We're always here. Uh, let's jump right into your questioning here. My trauma and ACEs thrive in isolation. How does actively building a supportive community serve as an immediate antidote to the distrust and loneliness that trauma often creates?
Well, great question. And the brief answer to that is people need people,
Right.
right? So the more you are in a circle of trust, have some friends and family, you begin to break down some of those stigmas of I can't behave like this, or this is abnormal, or I am abnormal. The more people that are around you that love and care for you helps you break down that and see that story that you're telling yourself isn't accurate. So connecting with people who love you, people who have similar stories as you do, help you realize that you're not the only person that's dealing with a trauma, a past event, and that you too can keep moving forward.
Now, a lot of the times we do, you're right, people need people.
Hmm.
But at the risk of sounding a little cliche,
Hmm.
hurt people.
True.
So how do you get into that mentality where you take yourself out of the, oh, that's just him kind of deal? You know what I mean?
I
If you
think I
have to
do.
deal with these people, you want to deal with the people that aren't going to bring the poison back into your life. You want them to be the supposed antidote in your life. So how do you get into that field where you're taking it away from that's just them to holding them responsible for the person that they are?
Well, I think everything starts within. So the more we look within ourselves and learn who we are and what we have to offer, what our value is, the less we allow negativity or people who are not bringing the same type of positive energy into your life. So sometimes you have to make some hard decisions and say, is this person for me at this time in my life or not? And if they're not, then that boundary that you set because you have your own self respect, your own self love will help you move past that negative interaction. And sometimes that person who may be you know, the negative impetus because of their environment, they start to see that you are walking in a different way, and they want to taste that. They want to feel that. And of course, your faith is always going to be something that directs you and guides you to a more right decision, a more right way of behaving. I'm a strong believer in reading the Bible and incorporating a lot of what the Bible or all of what the Bible is telling us to do. And it does speak a lot to relationships, but it asks you to start with yourself and then your relationship with God, with Christ, that helps you move away from things that are not of you. The Bible speaks to trying the spirits. So people have spirits. You have to
Right.
know that you're dealing with a person who has a negative spirit. And if you maintain the high road, if you will, you more than likely you bring them with you. And sometimes relationships are not right now. But if you keep walking in the way in which God is directing you, you will then become more of an example for the person who may have some things that they need to work through. And that helps.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of God fearing people, they believe in forgiveness.
True.
Where does it come a point in time where forgiveness is a limited thing to be passing out? Is it of God to be able to forgive and forget and leave it alone? Or do you keep putting yourself into the situation where you're forgiving over and over again? The same person, the same situation.
Yeah. Well, in the Bible, it speaks to, if you will, a number of times that you can be forgiven 7 times 70, 490 times. If you look at your interaction with people, oftentimes you don't have that number of interactions with them. So you should continue to forgive. Now, do you forget? You probably don't because things get recorded in our brains, but you learn how to manage those thoughts, how to separate your anger, if you will, or your hurt, because a lot of times forgiveness helps you more than the person that you are quote unquote forgiving. And the more that you can realize that, you begin to learn how to, if not forget, at least to manage that situation. Because as time moves on, so do those things that cause you whatever level of pain or suffering that you're dealing with, and they don't hurt as bad, as you continue to live and breathe and grow in your faith and understand that everybody makes mistakes, including yourself. So I don't think there really is a number of times that you should continue to forgive a person, or a number of times that you can stop once you reach that magic number for yourself. So you have to, again, know who you are and understand that that person made mistakes. You were past that. Speaking with them, knowing what the relationship is like, or what boundaries there are in the relationship, will help you know if you can continue in the relationship. In Ecclesiastes, it talks about, there's a time and place for everything, and that also includes forgiveness, and it also includes some form of forgetfulness with that person. You don't have to see them every day. That may sound a little cold, but not everybody is in your life for the rest of your life.
I get that part.
Yeah.
Now, in my book, the final stage of the junk sorting cycle is keep it clean, which relies on external accountability. How vital is an outside community for long term consistency in managing your junk?
Oh, wow. I think that is extremely vital. I'll use your word, because we all have junk. We all have a story. I am not a perfect being, nor are you, nor are the people that you interact are perfect beings. So you have to understand that people's view in life is their view in life. And you're not necessarily in a competition to know who's more right and who's more wrong. You just have to learn to respect that that person's experiences are what they are, and what yours happens to be as well. And again, back to that forgiveness and forgetfulness. Not everyone is going to be your BFF, right?
Right.
And so you got to understand that and be okay with that. Judgment is a challenge. I do believe God is really the only one that's supposed to judge us, but we do have our own viewpoints. We do
Right.
have our own opinions. So there's going to be some form of judgment. But you can't say because this person you know drink alcohol, or this person smokes, that they're a bad person, because you got a beam in your eye, like the Bible again speaks to. How can you be such a hypocrite, if you're kind of saying negative things about one person's sin or one person's junk, and you haven't really kind of cleaned up your own junk. So you got to look within first before you start casting those stones toward another person.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest takeaway from the human experience, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets their own views on life.
Hmm.
Now, beyond the emotional tools, what is the most important structural element your organization puts in place to ensure people maintain consistency in their healing journey?
Well, my organization is kind of twofold. So the name of my first company is called Surrender Your Hate, and then the second company came from that, out of a pledge that I call the Surrender Your Hate Pledge, and that company is called Let Life Live. And Let Life Live is a nonprofit, but both focus on gun violence prevention, gun violence reduction through conflict resolution. So the link is teaching people how to resolve conflict, how to recognize conflict, how to de escalate a situation, which I'll be speaking to a little bit later today, managing that anger, learning to kind of let go, also understanding those boundaries and being able to, push back or get away from potential dangers. But if you aren't taught how to manage your own anger, how to manage conflict, then you may become part of the problem. Because where most people are from, if you yell at them, or you come at them in a threatening manner, they're going to come back at you in the same threatening manner.
Fight or flight is
Yeah,
triggered.
fight or flight is real. So we have to kind of suppress that and understand that there's a greater outcome. Do you want to go home safely, or do you want to go to jail? So you have to make really good decisions in some split second timing. So, but if you haven't learned how to manage your anger and to manage conflict without resulting, or to violence, be it physical violence or be it with a weapon, then we're in some form of trouble. So my organization speaks to, from youth to their parents, developing that plan early on of, if someone bumps into you in the hallway, how do you handle that? You don't start immediately fighting. Sometimes you just simply say, I'm sorry, and you keep moving. That helps you, learn how to manage difficult situations or things that are small nature. If I step on your toe, you might say, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't mean to do that." And it doesn't make me weak to say that I'm sorry.
Right.
So some of that is taught in the classes that I do on conflict resolution and de-escalation.
And I like that you said different people come from different places.
Hmm.
So their temperament seems to be from where they're brought up.
Hmm.
Now, I don't want to take too much of your time.
No problem.
I know you are a very busy man and you still have your whole spiel to get on stage with.
Hmm.
I want you to take a look at this camera here and
Hmm.
all the people that may need help from your organization. Let them know where they can find you and what your message would be today on that stage. Because these people at home, they're not able to come here.
Yeah.
Some of them are all over the country watching you. Some are in other countries watching you. Um, but you are here now with us. So let them know exactly where they can find you, where they can get your services, and if you do remote or live.
Okay. Thank you for that opportunity. Hello, world. My name is Michael Allen, and my organizations are called Surrender Your Hate and Let Life Live. You can reach me at www.surrenderyourhate.com as well as www.letlifelive.inc.org. You can go on those websites, do the contact form, and we will reach back out to you. What I will be speaking to today is how ACEs affect conflict and how conflict resolution and de-escalation strategies can help manage your ACEs and help you make it home safely every day without the threat of violence or being incarcerated because you lash out. So we have to look at ourselves first and understand that there are methods and tools and that we can be the antidote, to use the term that we're talking about here at this session, that we're all antidotes or solutions to some of the problems. There is no one solution, but there are solutions, and you don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help from anyone that you trust or the organizations that are out there. Suicide, unfortunately, is a huge problem. You have suicide hotlines 988. If you happen to be thinking of that outcome, that is not the best outcome for you. People love you and they want to see you thrive. So reach out for help. You can start with my organization. You can look up on Google to find different resources that are available to you. But if you really would like to reach out to me, then those websites that I share with you is a perfect way to reach out.
Michael, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on that stage today.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned. We're going to hit a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Gene Terrace. We're going to talk about art therapy. Welcome back. I have my guest here with me. We are going to talk to Miss Jean Terrace about her neurographic art therapy. It was painting. It says painting on here, but we got it wrong. We're here to get it right. Thank you for talking with us today, Jean.
Thank you, Jason.
Now, I do want to jump right into another session. This is a Key Summit mission, and I'm glad to have you here with me. You help people process grief through art in the context of ACEs. How does the literal act of painting help us eternalize and heal with that inner pain?
That is such a good question. And first and foremost, I need to say that you do not need to be an artist to be in art therapy. And most of my best clients or patients that I work with have no experience in art before. So it is basically, if you can't find the words, you are releasing it through creativity. So it's not only painting, there are so many different mediums that you can use, but it is perfect, especially for kids. People always correlate it with children, but I've also seen it like flourish in the senior community as well. People who even struggle with different mental illness, but also like Parkinson's disease. You'd be amazed at somebody holding a paintbrush who has a shaky hand, but it's almost like seamless and it relaxes them. So my mission when I work with people is we all have the trauma and we're all coming into it with something. Sometimes we can't verbalize that. and it ebbs and flows. And so that's what I bring. And it's relaxation and giving you coping tools. How do I release that from my body when it's so heavy and I don't know what to do?
So you almost let the brush or the pencil just speak for yourself, speak for itself.
Absolutely.
So instead of internalizing the thought, you just let the thought speak on paper.
There's usually a little guidance. I really just like to let my people go at it. So if I give them a directive or an assessment to work on, it's just kind of like breaking the egg a little bit. And then I just let it happen. So whatever way they want to take it, sometimes it's not successful. Sometimes people just don't know what to do with that. Other times there's reactions, which is amazing to work through with people.
Have you ever seen somebody's subconscious come out on paper without them even realizing that that's what they're internalizing?
So I have amazing stories about working with patients in a mental hospital, and my best patients are schizophrenics because they have so much like at once. And this release for them, they are amazing artists, and they have been some of my really amazing people. And actually, depression is my next one. I would say people suffering with severe, severe depression and how it comes out. And you would think it's all about colors, but it's way deeper than that.
Oh, I bet.
Mhm.
Many people dealing with deep pain activates the sealed off room. How does art provide a gentle way to open the door without a person feeling flooded by their emotions? And I mean, when I say sealed off room, I mean that's everything that you repress,
Mhm.
everything that you feel like you need to keep internalized because it might spill out loud on everybody.
So there's no judgment. First and foremost is like there's just we don't come in here to look at your product. This is about the process. And my best sessions are when you have that breakdown or you have the aha moments. And those are my proud moments, like proud mama moments, where they're not even realizing it's happening and it is coming out. And different things like clay. And you'd be amazed at what clay can bring out in people. And you think, oh, clay, Play-Doh, use it when you're little, but you don't get that same effect. And with the ACEs things that us as adults are realizing that we have, it comes out in that. So that realization going, oh my gosh, I checked off 7 on that list myself, it's coming out in different forms. And, in hindsight, it's like art has been my savior of my life since I was this big. And I am an artist, but I also know what it does, and it's so powerful for me. So that's why I love sharing it. I'm passionate about what I do and just happy to be here.
So did you just mentioned that you were an artist
Mhm.
yourself? Did you go straight into art therapy, or was it just something you realized, hey, this works for me, so now let me bring it to the masses?
Thank you for asking that because I thought I'd be a teacher. I did a BFA in art education, so I have fine arts, art education. I was doing my field work, and in my last semester, I'm in the classroom and I'm like, oh no, I do not see myself retiring here. And I also found myself really honing in on the process, the kids coming in from recess, just like Tasmanian devils, and getting into the art, and it was quiet. And I'm like, that is what is pulling me in. And I immediately went into my master's. I have a master's in art therapy and clinical mental health, which really piggybacks. I love what I do.
Nice.
So it wasn't immediate. The art thing for sure my entire life, but definitely the art therapy was, yeah, figured it out.
When did you work ACEs into it?
Not long ago, got me to where I'm working part time right now. I came across, I believe Crystal was actually there and met them at a seminar at Central Florida Behavioral Health, where I actually do part time. And I knew of ACEs through school, but didn't really know it. And the seminar blew me away. And I'm like, I need to get into this. And somehow through my channels, through my networking, I got to Cindy and I was like, yeah, I get this.
And she always pops up.
Yeah,
She
she
always pops up.
does.
Your
Kinda
session
crazy.
focuses on pain, neurographic
Yes,
art through grief.
yes.
What is one specific actionable prompt or technique from your workshop that someone can use at home right now to start turning their pain into expression?
Okay, doodling. So I always say, do you ever remember you're sitting in class and you're just scribbling? So for me, it was easier to concentrate on what was being said to me and really hone in on it. So the doodling is releasing that tension, that stress, that boredom through your hands onto something else that is like, it's magic. So I carry an art journal when I travel, and it's just something I do. Zentangling, which is another form of doodling, but it's just repetitive mark making. So if you can get into a rhythm of that, and there's a lot of communities online that you can follow for that, but it's just releasing through its pen, its marker, its whatever medium. And it just brings you to a place of calm. So talk about practicing mindfulness. That is my trick.
Now, I never noticed that until you mentioned it. I do that myself.
Mhm.
If I had a pen and a paper now, I'm sure as I talk to you, I'd probably be doodling right here.
Mhm.
Is that something you see often with people? If they disassociate, they just start scribbling everywhere?
It's a distraction. I mean, these days you see more people on their phone, but 100%. And then I'll call them out on it and be like, see what you're doing right there? You don't even get what you're doing. And it can even be just making marks on your notebook, or you get a piece of paper with something on it, and you're just kind of like, oh, I could draw this on this. So you don't even realize it, but it's kind of like a reaction. Like you're just maybe trying to find a way to really concentrate, or not. It could be the polar opposite where you're just trying to tune out. But yeah, I think you'd be able to look back at your childhood and go, wow, I've used art a lot more than I give myself credit for.
Now, I don't want to keep you too long, so I'll give you one last question. Have you ever seen anybody connect to their doodling and realize that this is what made me feel this way, and that's why I reverted to doodling? So now I can open this bag and take a deeper look into why I'm actually feeling this way.
I use that a lot because I'm not an artist, I can't draw a straight line. I'm like, yeah, but you just did that. And I also love when they doodle and we turn the paper. So it's discovery. It's actually like they're finding images within that doodle that they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. So I said, like, the aha moments are really what just drive me, because I'm also discovering them as well.
Right.
So it's like a learning process, but I encourage people to try it. And it's not just like, oh, let's get our paints out. No, it's way more than that.
And that's why we do it in a community, so you can have
Yes.
help with those aha moments.
Yes, for
Sometimes
sure.
something you'll say might trigger a aha moment in me, or
Mhm.
vice versa.
Absolutely.
So right now, I'll give you the opportunity. You could take a look at this camera here
Mhm.
and speak into it, the life into these viewers here, so that way they may eventually get that aha moment from this conversation.
Okay, so first and foremost, if you are considering art therapy, I beg of you, please make sure who you're working with is credentialed. That is imperative. There are counselors that use art in their practice. I love that, but they're not credentialed. That means that maybe you're creating a piece that really needs attention. They're not going to know what to look for. So first and foremost, please go on the American Art Therapy Association website and check us out and make sure that we have that credential.
Thank you, Gene. Art is the language for the feelings that have no words. Incredible. And we'll let you get ready for your afternoon session. Thank
Great.
you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you. Welcome back. We're kicking off the afternoon with a bang. I'm thrilled to welcome a powerhouse who will just be finishing up her final set in just a second. Author and advocate, Ketia Valancourt. Ketia, thank you for stopping by today.
Hi, thank you, Jason. I'm so super excited for this opportunity.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. Now, you speak with such passion about finding your voice. For someone listening who's been silenced by ACEs, what is the first elemental step that they can take to control their own narrative?
So I would say the first step is being self-aware of who you are, your emotions. You want to make sure that if you know who you are, if you know like your foundation and like everything like that, I feel like that's the first step. Like understanding what your triggers are, understanding what gets you upset, what gets you mad, or what makes you depressed, or what makes you just want to scream, right? Because I feel like once you know that part, it will help you to navigate. Like, okay, maybe I can figure out like, okay, like I figure out what healing process I need to go to, or like if I need to see a therapist, or if I need to take outside, go and walk to help you just manage your emotions.
Okay, so you just basically have to align with yourself
Mhm.
to figure out what you need in any specific moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, my book discusses the sealed off room. And by a sealed off room, I mean this is the place where we kind of regress everything. This is where we put everything to lock it away. How does the act of sharing one's personal story like you do help to gently open the room and let the light in?
Ooh, that's a really, really, really good one. So like personally, like even myself or like someone who like let a lot of build up or like I'm always like so closed in. It was so hard for me to even release my book, Her Silence Enslaver. So like even like you just have to take that first step. You just have to take like get out your comfort zone, you know? Like in order to grow, you have to like take, get out your comfort zone. You have to take that first step because we're always on our mind talking about I don't know what people are gonna think about me, or I don't know if people are gonna actually learn, but you just do it. You never know. All you need is one person, just touch one person.
Right? You see, you gotta. In my book, those things you just spoke about, we call the swarming pests,
Mhm.
and they're everywhere. Those intrusive thoughts just buzz by.
Yeah.
Gotta shut them up somehow.
Yeah.
Now, as an advocate, you see how cultural background shapes healing. What specific challenge do you find is most common when people from marginalized communities try to find their voice within systems that have historically silenced them?
That's a really, really good one. So I am Haitian American, and like a lot of times where like my parents, we're so used to in that culture, we're so used to like, we always have to listen to what our parents say. Like, we have to like know like this is the parents is like this is the way you're supposed to go through life. Like I know growing up, they always say like become a doctor, a nurse, or go to school. That's it. But like you have to like step out of that. Like that's really hard. So you have to really step out of that and be like, okay, no, I don't think I want to do that per se, but it's kind of like it's a hard kind of balance because you want to respect the culture. Like I wanted to respect the culture, but I also want to find my voice and my different passion, so that's why I went into social work because I'm like, okay, I can still respect, them. I did went to school, so I've been going to church. So I think I did a good part of respecting the culture and things like that, although I didn't fit the narrative like being a doctor or a nurse or things like that.
Not many people fit a narrative, especially when the narrative is written for you already.
Mhm.
Your destiny is never predetermined.
Yeah.
So for your roots or your aces rather to write those foundations for you,
Mhm.
that's exactly why you're saying you need to break out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
You need to get out of that sealed room and you need to find exactly who you are because sometimes those false idealizations are the ones that are holding you back.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Now, I know you have to rush to go to your seminar.
Yes.
First and foremost, I want to say you were great.
Thank
You have
you.
no worries on being nervous for anything.
Okay.
Shake it off.
I'm shaking it off.
Now that you shook it off,
Mhm.
look at this camera right here. Tell them where they can find your book, where they can find your message, and receive all these positive affirmations you're giving out.
Okay, so I'm Katia Valcourt. You can find me on Instagram with Life Within Her. My email address is lifewithinher@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, Katia Valcourt, Ketia. My last name Valcourt, Valcourt. And you can find my book on Amazon. You just have to type in Her Silence Enslaver. My book costs like $20. And I also have a website, literally lifewithinher.com.
Go make sure you get that now. And we're rounding towards the end of our broadcast. We have a couple of people more to bring in with you, and then we are going to wrap for the day because we need to go rub shoulders too. You think you're the only one that's going to get this opportunity? We need it too. Stay tuned. We are running hot today with all this energy. I'm so honored to be joined by two people who have just hosted a powerful session on art and faith. Reverend Harry and Lisa S., thank you today for joining us.
Jason, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. I'm not going to get tired of saying that, but you guys are probably going to get tired of hearing me say it. Now, in your workshop, you used painting to help people connect with their faith and process pain. For someone whose trauma has made them feel abandoned by faith, how can art serve as a bridge back to the sense of spiritual connection?
So I do a step-by-step painting class, and that really points to them to move forward, to not get all stuck and held back in their emotions. They can just let go, trust the process, and get through it. And that's kind of how life is, right? You've got
Right.
all these things that hold you back, all these baggage that everybody comes in with aces and what have you. So with art, in order to keep moving forward and not get so caught up in the little details, see the big picture and move forward, that's how the art comes in. And then that will come into the healing.
I like that. See the big picture is your ultimate message, but you are painting the picture.
Exactly.
I love it. My book discusses the sealed off room. How do you see faith and artistic expression as elemental tools that help us gently open the door to the room and let the light in without feeling flooded?
So, when we have traumatic experiences in our life, there are voices that we hear regularly, the voices of anxiety and incompetence and the anger. I came from a family that was prescription drug abusers, both my parents. There was sexual abuse on the part of my grandparents. And those voices, that chaos continues to tear away your own self-esteem. For me, on my own personal journey, it was the power of God's grace through the church that was always that safe place, sanctuary, that was the hand of God around me and my sister, helping us and leading us and guiding us. And we came up with the idea to combine our session with the art and the faith, because when somebody signs up to do the painting, they bring all their own baggage, whether it's about their trauma or it's about their inner artist. I could never paint this picture. They walk in, they see her beautiful picture as a sample up there, and they say, how am I going to do that? Mine's not going to look like that at the end. And if they're in their head, if they're hearing their own voices, if they're hearing their negativity,
And those swarming pests.
exactly, they won't hear it. But the more they listen to her voice and her gentleness and her humor as she leads them through it, and she tells them, take a step back, let go of yourself, don't think about it. And then she'll take their painting and walk it away. See, it doesn't look so bad. The more she speaks, the more they listen, the freer it gets, the more the trust is there, and then the artwork comes out of them. And we connect that then, I believe, one of the most powerful antidotes to those adverse childhood experiences that we go through can be the voice of God through the gifts of the church. That in the midst of all the things that tear us apart, in church language, we talk about sin, whether it's original sin that we're born with, that comes through our ancestors, or it's the sin we actually commit. The voice of God in Christ Jesus is the voice constantly saying to us, I still love you. I am with you always. I care for you so much that I've given my son to die and rise for you. And as a result of that, the more we allow that voice of God to speak to us, the more those inner voices and the chaos and the negativity and the anxiety begins to let go and trust more in God.
Wow. Now, in my book, I speak about that too. When you have the swarming pests, you kind of have to manage them and, if need be, repurpose them. Now, I never thought of it the way you did, in needing to replace your voice with someone else's. That is an amazing message. Now, beyond the act of painting, what is one tangible practice your ministry teaches people to help them connect their healing journey with their spiritual beliefs?
Forgiveness is at the heart of it, and sometimes you have to first forgive yourself for not being what you pictured and thought your life should be. And we all have those dreams when we're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then life is much different than those answers that we gave back then. And so the idea of being able to forgive ourselves, and also those people or things that have been the traumatic experiences that have made us who we are, there comes a point, I think, especially if it's a faith journey, where you stop hiding in the shame of it, and you start embracing that even in the midst of the pain and the trauma, things were at work. I believe it's God, right? And God's grace to make you who you are. And when you come through the other side of those things and you realize you're okay, you're survived, and then you get to a point where the anger begins to dissipate and you let go of the bitterness, and the more you can talk to people about that pain, you then go from being the one needing the healing to becoming a vessel of healing for others because of your authenticity and your transparency. And the grace of God in the church and the power of forgiveness takes off our shield and that defense that we have, where we always have to be right, we always have to be perfect. There's nothing more disarming than acknowledging you're imperfect, you're wrong, you messed up, you made a mistake, and you're sorry. And that's the beginning, I think, of growth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's powerful. And gently opening the door, that is a beautiful way to think about everything. Now, before we let you guys go, because I know you guys are busy, you have a bunch of things that you're doing, I want you guys to spread your message to the masses. We have a lot of people that have been watching all day that couldn't be here with us in Longwood, but we are a community, not just physical, but in digital outreach as well. So if you guys can speak to this camera right here, let the people know where they can find you and what your message is.
So I am the pastor of St. Stephen Lutheran Church in Longwood, Florida, ststephen.org. You can find it on the website. And I've written about my ACEs, my adverse childhood experiences, in a book called Sanctuary, Raw Confessions of One of God's Imperfect Servants, Harry Schenkel, Schenkel. You can find it on Amazon, and also I recorded an audio version of the book that you could find on Audible. It tells the story of not only my childhood, but going through a divorce as a Lutheran pastor, how my oldest son, as he was becoming a teenager, was coming to terms with the fact that he was gay, and how the hand of God through all that and the church has continued to be my sanctuary and my safe place. And Lisa does her work through her art, and she's going to talk about that.
Yeah, so you can take my classes. I come to you. I will travel to resorts, Airbnbs, your homes, even if you want to paint on the beach. Paint with Lisa is my Instagram, and you can message me through that. One word, just Paint with Lisa. Thanks.
Thank you both for sharing your light with us. That was amazing.
Thank you, Jason.
We'll be right back with you. And finally, I get to sit down with the visionary who made this entire summit possible, the Chief Visionary Officer of ACES Matter, Cindy Stanford. Cindy, thank you for being with me today.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for flying in. Thank you. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you.
Cindy's name is on the marquee. I got to be there.
That feels good.
Now, as the visionary of ACES Matter, right, your vision's to see ACES understood, prevented, and healed. After seeing today's turnout and the energy here, what single moment showed you that the summit achieved its goal of moving people from awareness to action?
The one specific thing that has happened today that is bringing this vision to life and helping people move from just thinking about it to taking action happened right after the keynote presentation. There was a keynote presentation about bullying, and there were 3 people who stood up to share their bullying stories. And many people didn't know at the beginning that 2 of the keynote speakers were related. And I intentionally set that up because when I learned about this young teenage prodigy named Summer Strawberry, I learned about her story of what happened to her in terms of her getting bullied when she was going to school. And her bullying story was almost identical to mine in terms of people bullying her about her teeth, her look, and her fingers. I used to get bullied about all 3 of those things. And so when I heard her story, I was like, wow. And then I met her dad. Right. Now, first of all, I need to say I heard her story because she published a book as a teenager. Okay.
Which is powerful.
Which is powerful in itself. Okay. So then I'm like, well, how is a teenager able to overcome bullying? Because in middle school, that's the time where we're supposed to find ourselves. And that's the most sensitive time in our lives, because not only because our hormones are doing stuff, but that's where we're looking to feel like we belong when we get to middle school. So I couldn't fathom for the life of me, how was she able to overcome and get so far? Because most teenagers probably would have gone a different direction. And then I got my answer. I asked the question and I got my answer. I met her dad. Her dad is mastermind. And he is exactly what he calls himself, a mastermind, right? He is a mastermind that even though her dad grew up around adverse childhood experiences, when he had a child, okay, and he saw his child being bullied, he knew that his mind needed to be right in order for him to be present with his daughter and what she was going
He
through.
needed to make sure the buck stopped with him.
He needed to make sure that the buck stopped with him, right? So the most powerful moment today came after the three people did a keynote presentation. We had Mastermind as the first person, and then we had another lady named Wendy in the middle who told her bullying story, and then we had his daughter Summer Strawberry come up at the end and tell her story. But the people in the audience had no idea that Mastermind and Strawberry were relatives, and so at the end, I tell the story about them being relatives and how I finally got my answer, how Strawberry was able to overcome this. Her dad was the antidote. Her dad told her, "You're being bullied, and here's what we're going to do about it." And so her dad turned something painful into purpose. And that was the moment I knew, because you could see people in the audience just blown away by the fact that we as adults are the solution. If we truly want to be able to help children and all the mess that they go through too, right? Even though they don't have to pay bills right now, we got to take care of our stuff, our packages, right?
Right.
So that we can be present for them, because otherwise they're going to end up being pattern repeaters if we don't, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that was the most powerful moment to me. And I'd like to see more of that, because just a single dad he's a single dad,
Wow.
a single dad, right?
There aren't many of those nowadays
Yeah.
with positive outlooks on their kids.
Look at that. Look at, and so that's my story. I'll stop there. But that was the most powerful thing, seeing the impact and seeing how proud his daughter was of him. I pictured myself. And even though I didn't get to do that with my dad, I got to do that with my dad through them.
It be a child's joy in what their parent is doing. It affects you so much. I got that text just before you sat down with me from my daughter. So I get it. I get what he's going through in there. Now, my book focuses on giving people a blueprint, the junk sorting cycle, to manage their trauma from the perspective of ACEs Matter. What is the most important piece of structural change or ongoing support people need after they leave an event like this?
When I hear the word structural, it makes me think about construction, right? I think the most important thing people need after leaving this event is connection, right? We came as strangers. We're going to leave feeling like new family members, right? When you think about construction, all of those pieces that make the building don't come from the same manufacturer. And for the most part, since we're talking about healing is elemental, some of those pieces that make some of the most beautiful architecture are combined with different elements.
Absolutely.
So when we leave here, we should have friends from all walks of life, right? We should have people that have created space in their mind, created space in their heart to be there for us, not to run over us, but to make us hungry enough to stay in the conversation. The amount of people that have never heard about this, when they do, you got them. You're hooked.
Absolutely.
You
That's
were
how you
hooked.
hooked me. Yeah.
You were hooked,
Yeah.
right? So for me, it's finding that connection, because connection is free. Human connection is free for the most part.
The
right?
good connections.
The good connections, right? And that's where I would recommend that people start is first, maybe they need to go sit in Anika Allen's workshop or do some one-on-one with her, because Anika Allen talks about how to be a good friend, right? When you have good friends, you feel connected, you feel safe, right?
Right.
So I'm saying that because it don't cost a thing to be nice to somebody.
Absolutely not.
But it might cost you your ego if you've never seen nobody be nice to anybody because of your childhood, right? So go
Right.
take some classes, go connect with other people, and start there, right? But if your resources are there, if you've got the financial resources, then get therapy, get counseling, get a coach, go take some master classes, do whatever it is that you need to do to continue learning, because at the end of the day, once you learn it, as you told me, so famously said a long time ago, you'll see your life flash before your eyes.
Definitely will. Definitely will. And it's amazing to see how far all of this has come. And looking ahead, what is the next big step for ACEs Matter and the Solution Summit? How can our audience and community continue to be a part of strengthening the roots of this trauma-informed world?
I'm gonna give, to answer that question for how audience members can continue to support this and strengthen this, The first thing is to learn about ACEs. And one way you could do that is by joining our monthly documentary session where we teach people about ACEs through a movie, right? That's the softest way we can bring you into the conversation if you're hearing this for the first time. The second thing is to go to our website, acesmatter.org, and take your ACE score. Know how many out of the 15 you left home with, and let's start
Absolutely.
there, right? The other thing I'm gonna tell people to do is save the date, October 10th and October 11th of 2026, already on Eventbrite. You can go in and you can buy a ticket. If you missed this year, come back. We already know the people who came this year are gonna join us. So if you missed it this year, it's gonna be even better next year.
And we cannot wait for next year. Where am I here? There we go. Cindy, thank you so much for being a true junk guru of your community. We're honored to be your partner in this mission. Everyone, please thank Cindy for her amazing community event.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was powerful. Their messages, Ketia, the Reverend, his wife, their messages were powerful, and they tie perfectly into the next steps of the Talking Junk sorting cycle. We've talked about identifying the junk. Now let's talk about the hard work of sorting and naming it. This is the toughest part. You have to connect the rage, that immediate explosion, to the core belief or trauma, that story that's fueling it. You have to learn to ask, what lie am I believing right now? You're the detective. You have to name the wound before you clean it. Now, you need to toss and repurpose things, right? You don't get rid of the feeling, you change. It's output. You take that raw passion and you repurpose it. You turn it into art, advocacy, or purpose, a purposeful movement. My eyes are failing me right now, but I will not fail you. I'm gonna keep going. Because you yourself, like I'm doing right now, you need to turn your pain into poetry, not poison. You gotta keep it clean, right? We talked about all 4 steps of keeping it clean, the trauma that creates the spiral wounds. The counter you need is sanctuary. Art, music, faith, they're all elemental tools that create a bridge back to connection. They help you gently open the sealed off room and let in the community. Community is structural maintenance for your mental apartment. Now, we just finished the whole junk sorting cycle right there. On here, on air, and before we land this plane, I have to give a massive, massive shout out to the incredible people who made this day possible. Thank you to every single speaker who stepped onto this stage and couch. Anthony, Michael, Jean, Terrace, Ketia, Reverend, everybody that just came and gave their input for you, because you can't be here. So we need to make sure that we can get this message to the communities that aren't physical, that aren't in walking, driving, or speaking distance. Now, we armed our audience with real tools to give them a huge, so please give them a huge round of applause. Give yourselves a huge round of applause too for sticking with it. I know it's not easy to take all of this information in and apply it, but that's why we're here. This event was meant to stage these moments for your viewing pleasure from here until the end of time. Now for the secret ingredients of this whole production. A huge thank you to Leslie Gray Photography. Leslie, thank you, all right? You guys didn't just take pictures. You captured the agency in action. Thank you for this amazing, never before seen production on the Talking Junk Network. This has been the biggest eye-opener. And I guarantee you, because of you, my viewers are going to beg for a better production every week. And finally, I was going to get a chance to sit down with the visionary who made this entire summit possible, the Chief Visionary Officer of ACEs Matter, Cindy Stanford. But as you can imagine, this is a big event and it takes a lot of presence, and her presence is being stretched beyond her limits right now, beyond. So we are just going to close everything out. So for Cindy and the Solution Summit, I thank you for being a true junk guru of your community. We're honored to be partners in every mission together. Everyone, please, please think of everything you've heard today, the science, the stories, your trash toolkit. But this is the tough love part. Information without implementation is just expensive clutter. Let's clear the communication pathways with our final two tools: effective communication and setting boundaries. These are the skills that protect the healing you started today. You need the full manual. My book, Shut the Junk Up, is the deep dive blueprint for everything we covered today. It is your guide to permanently evicting those unwanted tenants and finally becoming the empowered landlord of your own mental apartment. We had a limited run of copies for sale right here today. So if you're here and you're watching, first off, why you didn't come in here and say hi? Second, please grab one of these books, because if you haven't got yours yet, what are you waiting for? This book is the difference between knowing the tools and mastering the flame. The conversation does not stop here. The Talking Junk podcast is where we keep this going live every single week. Thank you, Solution Summit, for being here, for being open, and for being ready to take out the trash. You all have been amazing. Go out there and start gaining agency over your anger today. Enjoy the rest of this incredible day, and remember, we love you. Peace out.